Okay, looks like everything's set up. Welcome to the live stream today. Answer all your questions about working milling machines to the best of my ability. Need to mute that. So I thought I'd talk today about was the mill assist feature. That's something kind of voodoo magic thing going on inside the machine that most people don't think about or know what it's doing or know how to utilize it in the best way for different scenarios. So I'll kind of run down what I know about it and how I use it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and chime in, or questions about anything in general, go ahead and chime in, or even just say hi. But the mill assist setup basically takes all the different parameters of the machine and like all the inputs on the machine, and it figures all of that out and then figures out the best algorithm for the machine to operate for the engine RPM, the forward travel speed, water belt speed. Like, it controls everything. And you have 3 modes. You have eco, power, and pattern, or you could say cost savings, performance setting, and perfection setting. So your first setting, the cost setting, it's going to maintain the lowest fuel burn, the lowest tooth wear, the most water savings, so you don't have to fill up with water as much, and the lowest wear and tear. But is it good for everything? Not really, because it works the best I've found on like long straight highways, doing trim cuts, little slow paced, doing tie-ins, stuff like that. Wherever the ground is going to be consistent, or you're not milling a large quantity at a time, or especially where it kind of suffers, I think, is in areas where the load of the machine is going to vary a lot, like going through like lowered trench lines or alligator material that's going to be solid and then start chunking and breaking up and solid again. It has a hard time keeping up sometimes. It tries to keep the engine RPM way too low. And I think sometimes it actually is more of a detriment to tooth wear. But it took me a long time to be a believer of eco mode. And where I've really seen the benefits is in highway work, where you're just putting the machine down on the freeway and going for, a couple miles a night. I've seen incredible tooth wear from that. So where I've gone like 2 nights sometimes, so around 4 miles, 5 miles on a set of teeth, and they probably could make it the next shift, but I didn't want to risk it. But that's pretty good, I think, of doing like a 2500ths or 3-inch mill or something like that. Even in pretty solid material, I'm like, there's no way these teeth are going to be fried at the end of the night. And I look, and at the end of the shift, and they're still like brand new. So I'm a believer in eco for the right situation. According to Wergen, it's exactly that. According to what Wergen wants you to do, it's for solid surfaces, consistent load, and maximizing the efficiency. Now, power is a little different. Power is going to take all of the inputs from the machine. It even knows how hard the material is. It can tell that. It can tell, engine load, material hardness, all of those things. And it's going to go for max production. And I honestly, for most work, run power most of the time. I still get pretty good fuel economy with it. And what I like about it is it brings the drum RPM up a little bit. It encourages the drum on the 210 FIs to switch into second gear a little more often. Eco does too, which will give you a smoother cut. It's great for removals, anything like 6 inches deep or more. I think it works better. It gets the material out of the box better. It doesn't seem to load down. And then, so so a lot of the work that I do, I think I use power the most of the time. And you still can get good fuel economy. Just because it has power doesn't mean you got to push it and use all the power. You can just use it for the simple fact of a little bit higher drum RPM, a little more the stability and load, and not push the machine that hard and still get pretty good fuel and tooth life. And then pattern mode is nice for, well, the way it's designed to leave the best pattern possible. It'll actually control your forward speed and your engine RPM to cut whatever pattern you tell it you want. So if you want a super fine pattern where it's not chevroning or running out the pattern, being really coarse, if you want to keep it consistent the whole time, or even keep it like really, really fine where you can make a normal like 5/8 spacing drum look almost like a fine drum, you can set that and it'll control the engine RPM and your forward travel speed, so you can't outrun that pattern. You can force it past it, but it'll beep at you and tell you that it's disabled now and you're basically running manual. But it'll actually give you a perfectly consistent pattern the whole time. So if the material softens up, it'll speed up, but it'll bring the engine RPM up. If you slow down, it'll slow down the engine RPM and the drum speed will come down. It keeps everything perfectly consistent for you, so it looks like you never stopped. That's really genius technology, in my opinion. And then there's full manual. You can turn all the automation off, and it goes to like a regular old school mill, full throttle, full everything, and you're good to go. But I really suggest trying Eco, trying to get used to it. I came from the old school grinders where you had full throttle or you had idle. Like whenever you're running the machine, it was full throttle all the time. And it was so hard to get used to Eco mode because it felt like the engine was lugging the whole time. Like you'd be grinding along at a certain pace and the engine would literally start slowing down and you're not touching anything. And it's so hard to resist that urge to kick it up, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. And if you have the features turned on, all of them, it's going to be controlling your rate of water use, your tooth, your fuel, and it's using all those inputs. I think they say like 60 different inputs to read what is the best speed and RPM for the material you're cutting, and it can tell what material is you're cutting. It's crazy. But that being said, if there's any comments out there about the eco modes, the power modes, the mill assist menu, the settings in the mill assist menu, or any other questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. But that's kind of what the subject is today. So we got 3 people here, it looks like. Feel free to introduce yourself and let me know who you are. I'll give you a shout out. First time trying this on a Saturday. I know a lot of people work on Saturdays, but figure we give it a shot. So to go into the mill assist menu, you have on your home screen, usually there'll be a little box on the bottom that says mill assist. If not, you can go into the settings menu and find it. And you can go in there, there's a bunch of options. Like there's the active second cut you can turn on, which will make your match for you on your second pass. I've been putting some videos out about that. It has active lift up, which is one of my favorites to use. It just takes a little bit getting used to where when you stop, it will actually lift the machine a 1/4 inch so you don't leave the divot in the ground and your teeth aren't constantly scratching the ground. And then as soon as you resume grinding, it'll set back down that 1/4 inch and go. And I thought for sure it would leave bumps and high spots when you do that, but it actually doesn't. I think the machine waits to move until it drops back down, so it's pretty cool. And then you have the mill assist water quantity, where it'll actually vary the spray bar pressure based on load, so you use less water. My opinion is I really like using a lot of water, so I have that turned off most of the time because I think it minimizes it too much. I'd rather have it soaking wet and spraying all that. Water's cheap, much cheaper than teeth. So I'd rather use more water than not as much. But I can see if for production and time savings of it, you having to stop to fill up the water, that would be something good to have turned on. I mean, it does make a difference. It'll make the water last a lot longer. And then there's vibration control, which is nice. You turn that on, and that'll actually control your forward speed and your engine RPM when it gets really chunky or even in a super hard material and your teeth are getting a little worn down. It'll optimize everything to keep the machine smoother feeling for you, for the operator. So I thought that was a nice touch that they added, and that I leave turned on all the time too. It works really good. And then let's see, what else is there in the Mill Assist menu you can mess with. You can set for pattern mode what drum you're using, what tooth you're using. If you're using factory working teeth, you can set a fineness of 1 to 10 of how much you want the machine to try to make the pattern you want. So it's kind of like a tolerance you can set. So it will let you go maybe a little bit faster and run the pattern out, but you can set how much. And there's the chunk prevention, which is one of my favorite features. Have you ever been grinding along and the material starts slabbing up in front of you and bucking the machine? It's just, you go along and blam, it blows another chunk out, it keeps blowing a chunk out. Well, the machine will sense that and start automatically bringing the RPM up, and even sometimes kicking the drum into second gear on the 210s to spin the drum even faster to minimize that chunking and keep the material more fine. That's one of my by far favorite features, because I hate that when you have to slow down to a crawl because the machine's chunking so bad. So being able to sense that and minimize it is a great feature. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the Mill Assist, but let's see, we got a question. Hala says, any video for working 150, how to begin paving, please? I think is that what you meant to say. We actually, the company I used to work for had a 150. I don't actually have any videos of it, unfortunately. If the company that I'm at now ever buys one, or I'm around one again, I'll take a video of it. I was around one the other day that it was like a prototype, I guess, that had a 6-foot drum in it in a 150. And I thought for sure, because of running the 150 that we used to have, I thought it was completely underpowered for a 5-foot drum. I thought for a 6-foot drum, there's no way. But I guess the new ones with the John Deere motor are a little more powerful. And I was really impressed by that little machine with the 6-foot drum in it. So fortunately, I don't have any videos about that. I do think it's a neat little machine for what it's made for. It's quick and zippy. It's real easy to maneuver because you have that rear steering, and in a small package. I mean, it's about as small as a 120. So, but having the drum in the middle and the rear steering, it's great for, key cutting, wedge cut, things like that. Soft material, trench lines. Anywhere that the asphalt isn't super hard, it's a good machine. So don't know if that really answers your question. I think you're just asking if I had any videos, but I don't have anything for you on the 150. Need how paving for the first time. I got a new machine today. Are you talking about paving or milling? Running the grinder or running a paving machine? Because I don't run paving machines. I don't have a whole lot for you on that one either. Give you a chance to respond there. Yeah, milling. Okay. I would say when you get the machine, if it's a new machine, there'll be a quick start guide that tells you basically what the basics of the control are. But it's not really that hard to run the machine from the very beginning. Hopefully there'll be some factory person there with you to help kind of get you started. If not, I do have videos of how to calibrate the grade controls. I can put them in the description of this live stream later. I can link the videos. But even if they're not perfectly accurate, once you know what it is, if that makes sense, like if 2 inches or 10 centimeters or whatever you're setting it at based on where you're at isn't exactly right, you can measure and kind of compensate until you can get it actually zeroed out. But setting the depth, turning the drum on, just experiment with it, play around with it before you actually get on the job site, see what all the buttons and switches do. You can't break anything. There's nothing you can tear up if you're not actually grinding. So you can figure out what all the buttons and switches do. But other than turning on the water, turning on the drum, and setting the grade control and pushing the A button in the middle and then let it eat, that's pretty much it. And the conveyor, every switch has a picture on it, so it's pretty easy to figure out what they are. But I'd recommend just not, when you're not grinding, just driving the machine around, putting it through its paces, figuring out what everything does ahead of time. And I think you're going to find that it's a lot easier than you might think. They're pretty user-friendly machines. They're by far, out of all the ones I've ever ran, Working is the most user-friendly. But so already work with Marini Bomag. Okay. It's old for new Working and different. Okay. You're going to like it. Working machines are a lot easier to run than the Bomags and the Marinis. Very similar in technology. You might recognize a lot of the sensors and things like that, and the wiring, the switches, the way they look. It's all that European design. They're really similar in that way, but I still think the Worgen is much more user friendly. What is it? A brand new machine or used? You have a chance to respond here. The new machines, it's going to be a FI, and those are really nice. That was the one that I was telling you, the 6-foot drum that I had worked around. That was really impressive. The I machines is the one that I ran, the I model. That was similar to like a 120 CFI, XTI, those types. And 150 FI. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna, all of these like the mill assist that I was just talking about. That's a feature that it's gonna have, and that's gonna, if you look at my how to calibrate the grade controls video, that's the same system that FI is gonna have. Pretty much any of my videos that are on the 210 FI and the controls are going to be the same on that machine. They're pretty universal. So all of the features, pretty much all of the features are present on the 150 also. So Eric says, any tips when you're coming on your edge of a cut and don't have a ground man to clear the edge and not leave a big pile? Are you talking about trying to minimize the pile, or how to hold grade at the edge when you have to go through a pile? Because if you're talking about holding grade, I usually will just switch to slope at the end. I'll match the slope and switch over to slope. Or if the ground is nice and flat, I'll just turn the grade control off and let it be on manual for the last 1.5 feet. If you're not wanting to leave a big pile that like you'll have to drive over again, a lot of times what I'll do is when I stop, I'll back away from it without lifting up, or back away from it while I'm lifting up. And then the front housing, the lower conveyor housing, will actually blade the material back so it doesn't leave a big pile. It's still not going to completely expose the edge for your second pass, but it'll make it a lot smaller pile that you can have somebody kind of just kick the edge off for you. And sometimes what I can do too on the second pass, to minimize, see where your last cut was. Yeah, so backing away from it will help. Sometimes not backing away and lifting straight up, you'll be able to, if you let the conveyor empty out, you'll still be able to see the edge of your cut. But what I honestly do sometimes is I'll turn the grade control off or switch to slope or whatever I decide is best for the scenario as I'm coming up to the end of that second pass. And I'll just watch the side plate that's plowing through the cut. And when I see the side plate hit the edge and start lifting, I just kind of mentally note that spot and pick a rock to look at or something in that pile that I can see that I can use as like a landmark of where that edge is based on when I seen the plate start rising, and I know that's the edge, and I'll stop there. takes some practice, and that may not make total sense, but it does if you do it. Just watch the side plate plowing through, and you'll see it when it hits the edge of the cut and that plate bumps up. Then you'll know. If it's a really deep cut, it's harder to do that. And so, but a really deep cut, like 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch cut, if you back away from the edge, it'll clean that edge a lot better for you because it's got more hole to dump the pile into, and that might help you out. That's what I do. Those are my tips. Practice some of that, and you might find something in between all of those that works for you. Because yeah, that's a common problem. I don't have a ground man ever, so unless I can convince somebody on the crew to do it for me, then that's it. Aladine, thanks. I hope that helps you. But yeah, look around in my videos for the others with the FI electronics, and I think that'll help you have a good start. Because I say those all the FI machines are pretty much the same. 4-foots, 150s, 120s, 130s, all the way 200, 200, they're all the same. So 207s, pretty much the same system, and everything crosses over. You run without a ground man all the time, Eric, or is that how your company works? Or do you have one sometimes? I don't know if you're still there, Eric, or not, but hopefully I answered your question. Yeah, thanks for watching the videos. I appreciate it. And feel free, if you have a specific question on any of the other videos, leave a comment and I'll see it, and I'll either respond there or direct you back to the live stream. I can answer it in person. Whatever works better for you. But yeah, watch the individual videos, and anything you need to know, just leave me a comment and I'll see it. Nuno says, any tips for pick holders that are always getting loose? Help me out with a little more context. What type of machine? Is it the newer style, the HT11, or the 22s, where it's not flat, it's at an angle where it seats in? It's pretty much okay. I would say with the pick holders, some general HT22 plus, I think. Okay, yeah. So it's a new style. It's getting few and far between to see those old machines where it used to be flat. Those were horrible. Once they started coming loose, you were pretty much screwed. If they wore out, the new ones are much more forgiving. So try to find yourself a torque multiplier, and I'll get back to you, Eric, here in a second. I seen your comment. Thank you. Pretty much get yourself a torque multiplier. If you know what that is, you can look on Amazon. They're not that expensive. That way you can get it tight. If not, you're going to have to get one of those huge torque wrenches, because you got to pull it down to about close to 400 foot-pounds. I forget the exact number, 330 foot-pounds or something like that. It's a lot. But if you don't, you can get away without changing the bolt in the field if you really have to, but it's recommended to change the bolt because the threads on the bolt actually wear down when you torque them in, and they don't have the correct grip anymore when you reuse them. But still put anti-seize on the bolt so that you get the good torque out of it too. If you put the bolt in dry, it's going to fool the torque reading. And even if you're not torquing it, if you're just going for getting it as tight as you can, you're not going to be able to tighten it as much without some lubricant on the threads. But get the hole cleaned out as much as possible. Make sure there's nothing in between the metal surfaces. If there's any grindings in there or anything like that, even just a little bit, you're gonna just crush those rocks together, and it'll feel tight, but it's not going to actually be tight. As soon as you run it for a little while, it's going to come loose again. but pull it down tight with the wrench. Smack the holder left and right, up and down with the sledgehammer to seat it, and then tighten it again. Smack it a couple more times, tighten it again. Just keep that until it feels like it didn't get looser after you smacked it, if that makes sense. And then get yourself a torque multiplier. They work great, where you can just set your torque wrench at like 110 foot-pounds, because most of them are a 3 times torque multiplier, I think. So that'll allow you to actually pull it down to the correct torque. Running it in with an impact gun, you can get away with that, but it's dangerous because the Allen bolt will actually expand inside that base, and then it'll lock it in, and you'll have a hard time getting it out later. So I don't recommend using a big air gun. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's tips I got for you. Make sure you change the gasket. It's tempting to put no gasket in, but it'll hurt you in the long run. So make sure you get it really clean. Torque multiplier, if you can get one, or like a 4-foot long torque wrench, and make sure you smack it around a little bit before you consider that to be the final torque. So circling back to Eric, awesome, thank you. What do I put the machine at? -4 on both sides to lift the drum and bring back door a little more down. When I feel it hit the edge of a cut, lift a little and it clears. So you're talking about dragging the pile forward. So that's something you can do too, but for me, I don't like doing that personally because the pile is still in my way and the track ends up driving over it. So it makes it a little more complicated to make it line up at the end. I can't just shut the grade control off. But if you're using the slope method or dialing into the edge of end of your cut, then that's a great idea. And the FIs actually have a feature for that that's meant for jumping manholes. It's called the active liftover. And I need to do a video on it. But I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's a button on the left side of the panel that has like 1 up arrow and then 2 up arrows, and it's a push button. So if you push that once, it'll raise the machine about a 1/2 inch above your grade. So you can drive forward and then just tap the back door a little bit when the back door catches, and it'll automatically scrape it for you. And it's made for like jumping manholes and water valves and things like that, where it'll scrape it clean without leaving a pile, and it does it for you. It's an amazing feature, but it can get you in trouble if you're not careful. You have to read the ground and know whether a 1/2 inch above is enough, or you're not going to end up grinding into something or the back door catching. But yeah, what you're doing there, that's a great way to do it manually. -04 both sides, lift the drum, and then you can scrape it forward off of your edge so you can see it. But if you're running an FI machine, try the active liftover. If you hit that button twice, it'll raise the machine all the way up out of the cut. But if you hit it once, it'll raise just enough to clear whatever it is so you can pull forward, and the back door will just catch. So it scrapes it clean. Cool to know. Yeah, check it out. And throw a comment back if you find any better luck with that. It's a pain in the neck when they keep coming loose. And it's so tempting just to keep running with it loose, but you wallow out that surface inside the drum housing, and it'll never stay tight. And the holder itself gets wore out too from beating around, and it'll never stay tight. So eventually you have to put a new holder in. You can't live with the old one anymore. It'll just continually keep coming loose. But then you have a long holder in your cut that messes up the pattern unless you grind it down. Cool. Pick a good spot to try it. That way to make sure you don't mess up and grind into your edge and stuff. If the ground is fairly flat, then you'll be good to go. I should have brought the manual in here with me today. I could have pointed it out in the manual what that button looks like. But it's right to the left and under the joysticks that you raise and lower the machine with, the little paddles. It's neat if you watch the grade control. Okay, 200 FI, so it has it. It's neat because if you watch the grade control, you'll see what it's doing. It'll come up to like -6, -8.8, or something like that. And then you know when to go forward. Just give it time to raise up, because it raises up kind of gently. Make sure it's all the way up as high as it's going to be. but it's a nice feature, and it usually will catch the back door. Sometimes kind of hard on the edge, so I usually have, as I'm rolling forward, I have my finger on the back door switch. So as soon as I feel it bump, I tap the back door up so it clears that edge. Yep, no fun grinding holders to match the pattern, but it's still worth it, even if you just get it a little bit closer. But sticking a holder in that's a half inch longer than the rest, man, that's needs a. Not only does it make it ride really rough, it leaves a nasty pattern. It's a manual. You run the 200 Fi. I use that button a lot of times. Really love it. Yep, it's handy. Say, Jess, hey, welcome back. I recognize you. I run a 200i. The back gate doesn't lower down at the same time. Are you talking about left to right? Like it doesn't go down evenly? Because I have a video on that. But if it doesn't, if that's not what I can describe it for you. Nothing more frustrating than you go to push the back door down and it only goes down on the right or on the left, and then you got to fight it to get it to go down level. I hate that. That's why I learned how to adjust it. So if you're talking about going down left to right, there's in the center of the back door at the top, there's knobs you can adjust. And what you want to do is open them all the way. Sometimes somebody's tightened down the little Allen lock nut inside of them, so there's a little itty bitty Allen screw in the knob that you tighten up that actually locks it in position. So if they won't turn, check that. Okay, so the right lowers down first. I adjust it, but the left is like hard to go down. So that's why I suggest opening all of them first, completely open, and then what you want to do from that point is slow down the faster one. So you're sitting there like just going up and down with it after you've opened them all the way up and setting the timing of them. So if you open them all the way up and you can focus on the down first if you want, raise it all the way up till it stops, and then lower it all the way down to the bottom and see which one reaches the bottom first. And slowly start closing the valve on that one until you get it even, so that it comes all the way down and even. So you're slowing down the faster side. And then you can work on all the way up. So push it all the way down and then raise it all the way up. And whatever side raises to the top first, slow that one down. And that should get you dialed in. That's straight from the factory how they adjust it. You can, if you want, start at 50%. Put the valves in the middle if you want it to run a little slower, but I'd rather it be fast. So if the right lowers first, you're adjusting it in to slow it down. But I would make sure that instead of slowing down the right, I'd make sure the left is all the way open so that it's able to come down, because that might actually be the problem, is the left side is closed off too much. And if that doesn't work, then it might be something mechanical. You could have material built up in there where there's just more drag on that side, so it's keeping it from going down. So making sure you wash it out really good. You can kind of troubleshoot that by washing it out really good and seeing then if it's different. If you wash it out and the problem kind of goes away or almost goes away, then it's more of a mechanical issue. You can try lubing it, putting some grease or some never sees in between the parts that are sliding and see if that helps. And another thing, so you're saying the right lowers down first. Check and see if your rear tracks are tracking straight too. Because if the rear tracks, if it's scrubbing the back door into the left side of the cut, sometimes it'll hold it from going down. But those are some things to check. I don't know if you've seen my video on it for the FIs, but the eyes are a little different. The eye machines, the valves are actually on the cylinders, but the same same principle applies. And then on those, the trying to think and remember right here, the bottom valve is down and the top valve adjusts the up. So you're not actually adjusting the fluid going into the cylinder, you're adjusting how fast the fluid can come out of the cylinder, if that makes sense. So the valve on the bottom is how you adjust the down. You'll know because if I have this backwards or not, because it's been a little while. But if you close one all the way off, and then it'll go down but not up, or up or not down, then you'll know which one it is. Because those valves are they're not bidirectional. They only reduce with the flow in one direction. So when fluid runs through that little pinch valve one way, it's completely wide open, and when it runs through the other way, then it goes through the metering of that knob. Any other questions? For the FI guys, any of you guys run the mill-assist stuff? Do you like eco, power, pattern, manual? What do you find your way you're running it more often? Don't get me wrong, I like eco. It's nice and quiet. You can actually talk to people on the ground. You can talk to people up top when they're with you. It's great. Eric runs manual. Yeah, you can, but I would try to get used to it. Get used to the power and the eco modes. Once you get used to it, you'll probably like it. The 210 especially, that big C18 cat motor, it'll eat the fuel in manual mode. I can run it manual for an 8-hour shift and probably burn 140, 150 gallons, or I can run it in eco and burn 75 and produce just about the same. So it makes such a huge difference. Running that big engine with all that torque and only burning less than 100 gallons a day is huge. You work for a paving company, Eric, or are you a contracted grinding company only? YouTube is so laggy. So I ask this every live stream because I like to get your guys' input. So the people that are here today, what would you like to see more videos on? What do you appreciate seeing on here? A lot of times I can make videos, but if it's not benefiting anybody, then there's no point. So I want to make sure I'm putting out the content that's helpful to everybody. So Manuel says, used it manual at the beginning, but got used to eco when I'm removing asphalt. I like it a lot. Yeah. It goes against everything that you think when you run eco, because you're so used to like, oh, it's lugging down, I got to back out of the stick. But no, it's not lugging down. It's just slowing down for efficiency. But you're still going the same speed. You have to watch the foot per minute gauge and be like, okay, I'm not actually slowing down. The engine's just getting quieter. So Nuno's asking, do you ever run other machines like a paver, or do you only run milling machines? You know, that's one of my big regrets, honestly, is I never went to the apprenticeship program to run other equipment. So the only other thing that I have ran is a sweeper. I've got some time in a sweeper, but most of my entire career has been only on milling machines. I've been around it all. I understand it all. I understand how the screed works and the basics of it, but I've never run a paver. So Eric, you work for a paving company, non-union. Well, your employer will appreciate some fuel savings if you try out eco and power. So you run the 200, so you don't have the second gear on there like the 210. But you guys having any emissions controls with that 200? I'm assuming you have one of the old ones with the Cummins still. Company I worked at before, that's one of the main reasons they went to the 210 is to get that cat motor, because it didn't have any actually emissions problems versus like the Cummins motors on the 200s and the 200i's were just constantly throwing codes and def problems, and it was horrible. Horrible enough that buy completely new equipment to get rid of it because it was such a headache. Even at this company I work for now, there's only one machine left other than the pulverizers that they still run. Obviously the Cummins motor, they eat def like crazy. There's only one mill, the 207 Fi we have that has the Cummins. Everything else is cat. What kind of videos do you guys want to see? What's a big pain point out there of something I can help with? Do you think it's the holders that are on the drum that leave grooves? If you put a brand new drum of teeth in it, if you change every single tooth and you're still leaving grooves in the ground, then yes, it is the holders. You have long holders and short holders. Holders that are grinded down on a side. Like if you broke a tooth and then it wore into the holder, those will wear faster and the tooth will wear crooked, so it end up leaving grooves too. Yeah, because if you think about it, if you got a flat surface like this and you grind off part of it, now you've got less surface area to hold the tooth straight, and so it'll shorten that holder faster, and it'll let it like twist sideways and not stay in alignment. You're better off on those ones to just change the holder and grind it down for length. Use the wear grooves that are on the holder itself, the guides, to estimate how far down to grind it. Or if you can't see those, what I've done is you can measure that little notch that you stick the pick into in the holder. You can measure from the bottom of that notch to the surface that the tooth rides on and match that to the other ones. That'll work too for measuring the distance. So if it's like 3/4 of an inch or an inch or whatever it is from the bottom of that groove to the mating surface of the tooth, you can match that all the way across. There's nothing worse than a pattern that's all messed up. It's so frustrating. Plus, it makes the machine ride so much rougher. Yeah, manual, it seems too like the more you run the machine in eco, it's almost like the machine learns how you like to run. I don't know if it does or not, but it feels like that sometimes. And it'll start kind of tailoring itself to what you want or the kind of work you're doing. I've noticed that. Like sometimes even if you put it in manual and you run in manual for a little while and then go back to eco will automatically kind of push the machine a little harder. So it, kind of knows you're trying to go fast, if that makes sense. I don't know. It seems like the machine's paying attention. It's almost scary sometimes. Thanks, Manuel. Glad you like all the info. Hopefully you've checked out some of my other videos too. But this is kind of an experiment doing the live streams to see if it works out or not. So far, it's been a lot of fun. I think I've done 3 so far. This is my 3rd one. So first time trying a Saturday, so I don't know if I'm going to go back to Sundays. A lot of people still work on Saturday. Cool. Thanks. So we got about 15 minutes left. If I hold out here, we'll see if we get any more questions. So you just got off. Wow. Glad you could make it. Hopefully you had an easy day. Can you do a video after the shift, in an instance where you would cycle outside tee to the center? And when due to wear types of things would you be looking for next day, pattern life? Sure, I can do that. I usually don't rotate my teeth from the outside to the inside. I'll just save the good ones in a different bucket and keep those for spotting in if I hit something or need to during the next day. We have a policy at this company where they really don't like you spotting in teeth. They'd rather you change the whole drum and just keep the good teeth for using the next day. Spotting in during the shift is fine, but at the end of the shift, if you've got a bunch, then you just they'd rather you just change them all and keep the extra for spot ins. But I can show you that for sure. A lot of times I find it's kind of the opposite. The middle of the drum will be good and the outsides will be the ones that need to be spotted because they wear funky on the sides or something and you know they're not going to make it through the next day. So I can't pronounce the name, but somebody says hi and they run a 200i. Hello, welcome. Any questions I can help you with? Glad you could make it. Yeah, but Kurt, look for that video probably in the next week or so. I'll see if I can get it out there. Just keep an eye on the new videos. Yeah, the very middle of the drum, you'll find that. And that's mostly usually from all the material in the middle. That's where the paddles are. They're kicking the material out. That you'll have all that material in the center kind of hinders the tooth rotation. So you'll end up wearing those ones out faster. That's normal. But good on you that you realize the sprayer bar needs to be good, because that's a often overlooked thing, is to keep an eye on the spray bar and make sure that it's clear, because one dry spot in the drum, you'll wipe those teeth out. More water the better. Someone in the last live stream, I think, was asking about how to increase the pressure on the iModel machines, because and if you ever run into that problem, look at that little brass regulator valve underneath your valve block on the water spray system, because that's usually the culprit. You look at the gauge, and if you turn the water on, wash the spray bars down after each shift. That's awesome. Turn them on and make sure they're all spraying. That's good. I wish more guys at this company I'm working at now did that, or I'm constantly having to fix clog sprayers. But turn all the valves off, turn your water on, and see where the pressure gauge goes. If it's not going all the way up to the little arrow on the gauge, then you need to adjust that regulator for best performance. And if you turn it in and it doesn't make a difference, the T-handle, then you need to replace that regulator. That makes sense. I was talking about that in the last live stream, but I'm glad they got rid of that on the FIs, because that was a constant problem. Got 8 people here right now. It's awesome. Spread the word too, guys. I'm going to try to do this every week, if possible. So I'm trying to put out a short to kind of announce it if I'm doing it. But yeah, I'm trying to get this to kick off so we can give us all a forum where we can chat and talk with each other too in the chat. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, sure. I can repeat again. So on the iModel machines, the valve block on the side of the machine where you turn on the different sprayers, turn on the drum, the belt water, stuff like that. Underneath it, there'll be a brass regulator about yay long. It has a T handle on the end and is threaded into a pipe and has a hose coming out the other end. So you want to loosen the lock nut and turn that T handle inwards to increase the pressure. And it has a bushing on that T handle that'll prevent you from screwing it in past a certain point. You can back that T handle all the way out, totally take it out, and spin that reducer off so that'll allow you, and then screw it back in so that you can get it to go in further, if that makes sense. And that'll bring the pressure up even more. And sometimes you have to do that when that spring inside is getting wore out or broken. But the spring inside that regulator will break, and then you'll get nearly no water pressure. And there's no fix other than changing that regulator, that brass regulator. I highly recommend getting a few of those and keeping them on the machine. Keep one new one on the machine at all times, because you'll lose one in the middle of the shift and you'll have no water. Very, very, very little water pressure. And if your gauge is still working on that water manifold, then you want to turn that T handle in, turn all the valves off so that the pump is deadheaded. Turn the water on, like by pushing the button on the front of the machine for the water system. Push that button and then turn that T handle in until you bring the pressure up near that arrow on the gauge. So you have the gauge and you have the numbers, and then there's a black arrow like on the 1 o'clock position, I think, somewhere about there. That's about where I like to run it. Yeah, you were looking at it today. Cool. Really common for those to break. I mean, they will break. Like, you won't own one of those machines without that breaking on you at least once or twice or many times. So we're back to 8. We're up to 9 people there for a minute. So the commenter that says they run a 200i, where are you located? Wish I could translate that username, but so I could pronounce it. Where are you at? Talking about the water pressure. Where are you at? Your location? Curious where everybody is. I'm in Southern California, living the dream, supposedly. No, I have people from all over the country on here. Hey, you're welcome. Hope those tips help. Yeah, I think it'd be fun one of these days. We gotta all do a Zoom call. We can have like a little meet and greet. Thought that would be fun. Put some faces to some names if this takes off. You're in Alabama? Okay. Southern California, Anaheim. You're right next door to me. I am near Anaheim also. Eric in Fremont, okay. Connecticut, Massachusetts for Kurt. That's so cool. I love how you can... Mobile, Alabama, okay. They do a lot of freeway work over there on the East Coast, or is it... As I noticed, like, California roads are terrible, but I've traveled out of the States and over the East Coast, and everything's in so much better shape. So you guys must maintain your freeways a little better. That or they're asphalt instead of concrete. I don't know who thought concrete was a good idea for a freeway. It's great until it isn't. So much harder to repair. Do a video running in manual mode. Yeah, I could. It's not much to it, really. It just brings the RPM up full throttle like an old school grinder, and everything just eats. Work for JB Bostic. Okay. 200, 120, and a 120F. Run all three. You know, when I worked for a company in the Bay Area, we used to grind for JB Bostic a lot back in the day. I think it was before JB Bostic bought their first grinders. And this was up in the Sacramento area. And I knew they had equipment down here. But wish I could remember the guy's name. That was the paving foreman. I think it was Tim. Tall, skinny guy. Can't remember, but this was back in, I don't know, it's probably 10, 15 years ago. But I got some experience with JB Bostic. Black trucks, always nice and clean. Okay, so Alabama, you just do city streets, sometimes highways. Okay. The company I'm at now, we do a lot of freeway work, and man, that's mind numbing. It's so easy. Oh, the grade in manual mode. Are you talking about just kind of winging it manually and not using automatics at all? No automatic grade control? I don't think I do a whole lot of that. Sometimes I do shut it off for brief moments, but most of the time I use grade control all the time. The big machines aren't like the smaller tired machines with tires that you can just run it off of the leg gauges. They bought two W1900s. Yep, I remember when they bought the 1900. That was what I was running at the time. One for Anaheim, one for up north. Learned on the 1900 with two big steering wheels. Yep. And you had to do all of your steering with the back tracks because the front didn't turn for nothing. It taught you how to use your rear steering for sure. Going around radiuses, you learn how to use the back steering real quick. When I first started grinding, the 1900 was the thing. It was the best machine. It was back before they had the electronic control where you still had the big manual throttle. Old school. So you've been there for a while if you remember the 1900 then. It was always a going joke. Tim from Bostic up there, he kept trying to hire me, and I kept telling him he couldn't afford me. It was kind of our ongoing joke because they weren't union. And they wanted me to run other equipment besides the machine, and I told them no, there's no way. I'd run the grinder and go home. Your crew would hate me. $25 years, yeah. That goes back to about that's the same time period I was working for them, but they were hiring us to mill for them. I didn't work for them directly. Upload a video of milling freeways. Sure. I'm trying to film pretty much everything I do as much as possible, but sometimes I have other guys there and I kind of can't. But when I'm by myself, I'm trying to film everything. In Connecticut, we mill approximately 55 lane miles, 2-lane highway in each district, 4 districts for maintenance. Wow, that's quite a bit. So you're keeping up on your roads. That's why everybody else has better roads than us. All right. Well, it was nice talking with you all today, but my hour is up. So I'm going to get off of here. Probably next Sunday I'm going to do another one. So I'll throw out a short and some announcement or a announcement in the community part of the channel, so you guys know if I'm doing it or not. But keep an eye on the channel for upcoming in the live section for an upcoming live. You'll see if I'm going to do it again next week. You know, just trying to wing it in. I tried once because of one bad cable and the job had to be done. Yep. It's good to know how to get it done. So real quick before I go, Kurt, I'll answer that one. What's your favorite mill from back in the day till now? The W2000. That was my favorite machine. The 2000 with the old school cat motor and twin joysticks. I love that machine. I'd still run one today if I had one. So that's my favorite. But I'm going to get out of here. You guys all have a nice, safe day. And maybe we'll see you again next week.